A bill aimed at deterring asylum seekers from crossing the English Channel. I'm speechless. Speechless. Deterring asylum seekers from crossing the English Channel. You know what would really deter asylum seekers crossing the English Channel? Sending them back. Something else that would really deter them from crossing the English Channel would be, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but the border force not going out and getting them and bringing them here and putting them into 4-star hotels. Stop doing that, and that would be a deterrent. You know, one thing I did when I read this, first of all, I was still steam coming out of my ears at the sheer exhaustion and exasperation of hearing this rubbish time and time and time again. I went and had a look at some past legislation introduced under the Conservative government on these very issues. And we have had the Immigration Act of 2016. I'm reading it, the Act itself, on the government's website. Now, this Act, again, Royal Assent in 2016, Tory government, introduced new sanctions on illegal workers and rogue employers, provide better coordination of regulators that enforce workers' rights, prevent illegal migrants from accessing housing, driving licenses, and bank accounts, introduce new measures to make it easier to enforce immigration laws and remove illegal migrants. That's what the Immigration Act of 2016 passed. This is law. It's not just something to be debated. This was passed into law in 2016, and its intent was to make it easier to enforce immigration laws and remove illegal migrants. Back in 2016. Since 2016, I've gone into this in great detail. The figures keep going up and up and up and up and up. We still have the spectacle. It's daily. It's certainly daily that I see it on social media being moved around and posted around. Illegal immigrants are coming here every single day, not under cover of darkness, not with some covert tunnel system avoiding the authorities, but coming here with getting a lift from the UK border force. The UK border force is who is bringing illegal immigrants here. And they are illegal immigrants. They're not refugees. They're not asylum seekers. They don't meet the definition of either. Even the United Nations admitted this some time ago. I've repeated this several times because it's so important. Even the UN acknowledged that the people coming to Europe are not refugees, are not asylum seekers. They don't meet the definition. They are coming here as economic migrants. They're coming here because they want to live in a rich country. Simple. Well, for now. The more of them that come here, the less rich we're going to be, of course. And the less rich we already are. Your standards are falling. This is a prime example. This rubbish now from the Conservatives in the Queen's speech is a prime example, once again, of the psychological trickery employed by mainstream politics. A bill to deter asylum seekers coming across. 5 years after a bill to stop illegal migrants coming here was passed into law, in that 5 years, we have vastly increased the numbers coming here. And again, not under cover of darkness, not covertly, but being given a lift here by the UK border force of all organisations. And what the Tories are going to do now is throw into the Queen's speech, will deter asylum seekers from coming across. Well, I can't wait to see what those deterrents are going to be. They have the law. already. So they're clearly not going to use the laws they already have to stop this happening. I'm looking forward to seeing what these deterrents are going to be. This is absolute. If I could swear now, I really would. I don't have the words for this. This is trickery of the most, it's absolutely despicable behavior from the Conservatives. And it's actually typical Conservatives, because this is what they do. They talk the talk, they introduce legislation, and then nothing is done. It's not enforced. The whole thing is a mockery. And this is exactly what's going to happen again. Absolutely infuriating. Infuriating. You don't need new laws, Tories. You have the laws. Remember, you passed them back in 2016. But this is aimed at that psychological trick of duping the public into making them think that something is being done. Nothing is being done. Nothing was done after the Immigration Act of 2016 was passed. Nothing will be done about this either. There is absolutely no intention to stop illegal immigration in the UK. And do you know how I know there is no intention of stopping it? Because if there was an intention of stopping it, it would have stopped by now. Look with your eyes at what happens. Don't listen to them. What they say doesn't matter. It's what they do that matters. And if there was any intention, it would have stopped by now. Now, on borders and security, the speech referenced new legislation to overhaul the UK's post-Brexit asylum system and discourage, there it is again, deter was it last time, discourage this time, migrants from crossing the English Channel. Unbelievable, unbelievable. You already have this law. There'll be new powers. Now, we went into this in some great detail on a live stream not so long ago, the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill. New powers for the police over protests and new sentences for serious crimes. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I saw an article just this morning. A man convicted of raping a 5-year-old girl. No jail time. We'll see. We'll see if there's any real sentences. We'll see if there's any real punishment coming. But I will tell you one thing, they won't have a problem. Both passing into law and enforcing will be the restrictions on our right to protest. That no problem there. Absolutely no problem there. A draft victims bill will create new rights for the victims of crime, including new standards on support offered to sexual and domestic victims. Again, we don't need this. You need to enforce the laws you have. It's the same trickery again. It's to sound like they care, sound like they're doing something. I've spoken about it, and one thing that really, as anyone who knows me will know, that absolutely enrages me is the lack of sentencing or lack of any kind of just sentencing for example, child molesters or rapists. I just told you about a guy who was convicted of raping a 5-year-old, and he didn't get jail time. And this is not as unusual as you might think. So why don't you just jail them under the laws you have, instead of pretending to care by bringing in new legislation, which won't be enforced anyway, like the laws we have now are not enforced. It is absolutely enraging. But one thing that I did see, which isn't in this report here, is a reduction in the number of animals slaughtered without stunning. Have they got a number? You won't be surprised to hear that I don't believe that for a second. This again, same thing, psychological manipulation of the public. We're doing something honest. They'll do nothing. And they'll do nothing because we know exactly who will run amok if they do something. So I'll be keeping a very, very close eye on this. Okay, let's have a few questions. Where are we? Okay. Oh God, Stu, what would you, if you were the Queen, what would your speech have said? Well, it would pretty much match the key points of the manifesto. Everyone who has arrived across the English Channel will either be sent back to their country of origin, held in detention until they do, not, by the way, in a 4-star hotel. They'll name a place to be sent back to. Any boats coming across will be literally turned around and sent back to France. That's first. We will stop immigration. And by the way, did you see Michel Barnier said we need to stop immigration for between 3 and 5 years? As Pat Condell said, they must be moving into his neighborhood at last. But it's not that. They're never going to get to his neighborhood. This is, again, it's the same thing I've mentioned several times throughout this hour. It's trickery. It's, oh, look, they're doing something about it. We can trust the mainstream politicians. We don't need to vote for these little parties. We don't need to give them a chance to bring actual change. Look, the main guys are saying it now, so it's fine. Everything is going to be fine. Immigration stops. Deportation begins. People who have no right to be here will be thrown out. And we will use those 4-star hotel rooms to put veterans in them. How about that? I mean, I think you can guess. I think you can guess a lot more of it. But immigration is top of the list. And pretty much what's in the manifesto, Stu. Okay, Paul, what's your thoughts on the climb down in Glasgow? Oh, how infuriating was that? If you haven't heard of this or seen it, police had arrested illegal immigrants in Glasgow, and the van they were in was surrounded by a mob of left-wingers doing what left-wingers do, shouting, screaming, threatening, bullying, and causing violence. And the police let these illegal immigrants out of the van. And when the van was opened, they stepped out like victors. It was like some sort of victory in a sporting contest, and got this big cheer. And it reminds me of, it's happened on a few occasions with deportation, for example, of convicted sex offenders, rapists, who get these silly little lefties coming onto airplanes to try and stop the airplane taking off and thinking themselves heroes. So good for you, you defender of sex offenders. You've made this country more dangerous by, well, this country is extremely beyond dangerous at this point. And you'll have seen those stories. These left-wing protesters getting on planes and stopping them from taking off and what have you. It is genuinely disgusting, and it's the police are being controlled by mobs. It's frightening. It's frightening. It's not an exaggeration to say it is the breakdown of law and order. You saw it. We saw it in Bristol with the tearing down of statue and defacement of property and the defacement of Winston Churchill. These are all criminal offences. And the group committing those criminal offences, the police got down on their knees in front of them. Now we have mobs surrounding police vans, and the police saying, "Yeah, all right then, fine, just go." And I've no idea where those people are now, the illegal immigrants, no idea at all. But when you allow bullies to get away with bullying, when you concede to them, when you literally bow down to them, what do? What message do you send to them? You send them the message to keep doing this. It works. It's a complete breakdown of law and order. We have ridiculous sentences for horrific crimes, or no sentence at all. Third time I'm going to mention, convicted of raping a 5-year-old girl, no jail time. So you have that mixed with the police getting on their knees to violent crooks, And you have this mobs surrounding police vans and the police saying, yeah, okay then, go. No law and order. Complete breakdown. Shocking. Okay, does Anne-Marie think we should follow some other countries in the world and allow only British citizens to have one nationality? Dual nationality makes for divided lighters. That's actually a really good question. Yes, I kind of think I do. I think I do agree with that. Yes, I think I do agree with that. I think we should only have one nationality. I did for a time have both Irish and British citizenship. I had two passports at a time. My Irish passport ran out years ago, and I've never renewed it. But it's not a question I've been asked before, and on immediate reflection, yeah, I think so. Why not? But yeah, you're right. You're right. Commit to this country. But as I think also, Jim, I think one big issue we've got is we have been handing out British citizenship like confetti for years, and we have British citizens who have absolutely no loyalty to this country whatsoever, dual or otherwise. None, no loyalty. We have British citizens who absolutely hate this country, all of its ancient values, its heritage, its people, hate it, and they're carrying British passports. That to me is a travesty. I would rather they not have British passports at all rather than have only British passports. That to me is an absolute travesty, and should stop. People want to be British citizens. I think it should have. There are great people who love this country, who were born in it. But it must involve commitment, and it must involve a commitment to be a part of it, to be loyal to it, to respect its majority, its ethnic majorities, and the culture of those majorities. And yeah, I think in answer to your question is, I think yes. My immediate thought is yes, we should only have one nationality. And just as an add-on, I think it's a much greater travesty that people who hate this country and who wish it harm and who bring violence and horrific crime, that they have British passports at all. I'd rather they didn't have them than had two. I'll come back to defences and measures you put in place on our channel coast to deter. Well, my immediate response to that, Paul, is the first thing you have to do is stop bringing them here. This is absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial. It's not as if, as I mentioned earlier, it's not as if people are coming here covertly. It's not as if they're coming here by some sort of scam or scheme, or they're coming here quite openly and getting a lift by the UK Border Force. That's what has to stop first and foremost. And then we need a force, not a welcoming committee, a force. And if your question, if the implication in your question is, and I'll answer this as quickly as I can, should we use force to keep people out? Yes. Yes, we should. You've put a little smiley face down here, leaving out my idea of laying mines, which got my 19th ban. 19 bans on Facebook. That's impressive. I'm actually shocked that I'm still on Facebook. We'll see how long that lasts.